Everything is food, food, food. Everything is food to go. Everything is food for thought. Everything you can eat is dough. It is food.
Benjamin Franklin once said, "Eat to live, do not live to eat."
Oh.
Ho ho! Sage advice. You can either feast or famine, live or die. Like a movie or hate a movie. And for this week, I guess we're tucking in nice and heavy. We're going to be attacking the subject of cannibals. And I think this is probably a first for us.
Well, you know, we've been going through some of the classic monsters of the past couple of weeks, and cannibals they're kind of an unconventional monster.
They're unconventional, but when you really sit down and think about it, there's more than a few movies that deal with the subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
But they tend to either be really well known, like Silence of the Lambs,
Right.
or best forgotten pieces, like the first of the two that we're going to be talking about today, Cannibal Campout.
Well, look what we have here. That sure is a lot of meat.
Anyhow, Cannibal Campout was a picture that graced the world with its presence in 1988. And it did exist there for a short time. It certainly is a movie.
That's the weirdest thing you can say about a film. It exists.
It exists. It takes up space. And it takes up space. It took up an hour and 20 minutes of our time.
Oh, it felt longer than that. I swear that was a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, it was an epic.
Jeez.
It's probably the B-est movie, C-est movie, D-est movie we've done. It was from a time when we were both kind of getting into the undercurrent of horror cinema. And
Boy, we really went to the bottom of the barrel here.
bottom of the barrel, yeah.
Oh
And
boy.
what's weird is with the subject matter, I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't know it was going to be this bad. I remember having fun watching the movie the first time with friends.
What were we thinking?
It's just a horrible, horrible story. And I mean, the movie is summed up very, very succinctly as 4 kids go out to the woods in upstate New York.
Yeah, they're gonna go camping.
And they get killed and eaten by cannibals.
That's pretty well it.
Yeah.
You know?
There's not much to say. It's cringeworthy. It's so bad.
And you know, I'm chuckling now, but you know, I just have a sense of relief that I've been dreading this kind of all week. Watching this, I saw it once before, and I thought, okay, it might be passable.
No, and that's the thing. The hindsight 2020. Boy, this hit it like a train. This is the worst movie I'd seen in a long time.
Worse than Gremlins?
Worse than Gremlins. And that's damning language there.
You know the most damning thing about this? I actually paid money for this a few years ago, and I don't know what I was.
It was a 3-for-1 deal.
Yeah.
And the other 2 movies that were picked up were it was Ghoul School, which isn't bad. It's not great.
Okay.
It's better than this.
Uh-huh.
And Bone Sickness, which is probably a movie we should have looked at.
We probably should have got that one instead, yeah. But,
Yeah.
you know, it didn't fit the cannibal theme. We don't have a whole lot of cannibal movies.
No, and you don't want to do Hannibal Lecter.
We have Cannibal Holocaust. It's sitting over there somewhere.
But even then, I wasn't a huge fan of Cannibal Holocaust.
Well,
either.
it's more important.
Yeah, I
Like,
suppose.
like this movie was brought back for a DVD release, you know, by a company that specializes in forgotten 80s
Yeah, schlock and nonsense.
and nonsense. And there's probably a reason it's forgotten.
No, I mean, you even
know.
have interviews with the director, like, what was it? Bloody Disgusting had an interview, and he said he was surprised anyone remembered the movie at all. And he kind of moved on from his dream of becoming a horror movie director to whatever he was doing for his living. And I think if the director is quick to forget it, we should all be just as apt.
Okay, we're taking some shots at this, but there is a couple redeeming features. Well, maybe one.
Ooh.
In that the special effects, it's a gore flick. You know, they're not that bad considering this is like a debut for everyone here.
Yeah, pretty much. Like this is all first timers.
Mm-hmm.
It has that feel like we could make this movie with a little bit of time and effort. We could probably do something pretty close to this.
Okay.
And that charm only lasts for so long. Like, it's painful.
It's well, I guess one of the reasons when I first, just a few years ago, I started getting, more into classic horror, modern horror, horror in general.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, let's do a bit of the gore stuff. I went through kind of like a gore phase where a lot of the movies I bought were just fountains of blood and,
over the top,
like Tokyo Gore Police and things like that.
Meatball Machine.
Yeah, something like that.
And Machine Girl.
And boy, that wears on you. It's like I'm not the same person I was a few years ago. I need more.
If all you have is you're just watching people throw around buckets of red paint and fake blood, that's all right if you've never seen it before, but that novelty really runs out quick.
Mm-hmm.
And a good story is what's necessary to carry a movie that deals with cannibals.
Yeah, because what happens to these people is they're going out to camp and they meet a couple guys on the road.
Yeah. And
that's trouble because those two guys are part of a trio that forms up the Cannibals.
Yeah.
And it's rough. Actually, we talk more about kind of like a situation. If you were in such a situation, have you ever been fearful for your life during a camping trip?
And yeah, I still in a way think I'm still kind of coming off that stunned feeling after watching this movie.
Yeah, I don't have any words for this. We just finished it, and heck, I'm glad to move on.
Well, if we move on, if you're into that stuff, by all means, go nuts. It's all right for those people that just want the blood. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Decent special effects for the time and cringeworthy lines,
such as,
well,
and do you have a download of this movie?
No.
So we just did that for nothing.
No,
I'm gonna splice in some footage.
You were putting me on the spot, and I just gave these groans. All right. But moving on to much more fertile pastures was a movie that you enlightened me to. Jesus. When I was a young boy and still kind of new to the whole horror thing, he was into it a few years before me. Was a picture called Ravenous.
Thank goodness. This is the one saving feature of my week.
Yeah,
Ravenous. It's kind of like a historical piece.
Yeah, a period piece.
A period piece about
with a great cast.
Yeah, actually, it is. It is a great cast. They have the star of the show is Robert Carlyle.
Yeah, Robert Carlyle, and goes head to head with Guy Pearce.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Neil McDonough.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is in there? A couple other bit players that have been around.
Yeah, you'd know them to see them.
Yeah, the fellow from Beetlejuice. What's his name? Jeffrey.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I was about to say Jeffrey Rush.
Nah, not
That's
Jeffrey
not him.
Rush. Anyhow, this is the complete other end of the spectrum from Cannibal Campout, and that rush that he just had, just saying, "Thank God! All right, now we have some literal meat on this bone." It's a wonderful story. It takes place during the time of the Mexican-American War,
Right.
at the end of the 1800s, or mid to late 1800s.
Yeah.
And what happens is a disgraced soldier ends up getting a commendation for being a coward,
Yeah.
and so he gets transferred to a pass, the western route through the Rockies. And he's manning this outpost of misfits and miscreants. And
Skeleton Crew, Fort Spencer, where
Fort Spencer.
you gotta have at least a drinking problem or be a coward.
yeah, you've got to have done something to get the army to
This is a-
send you out there.
This is a punishment.
Yeah, it's punishment because nobody takes that pass, and you're at the ass end of the Rockies. Nobody's going to talk to you. So there's just a group of about 6 soldiers.
Yeah.
And one night, a preacher, shows up, and he's somehow come through this wintered pass, and he tells horror stories of a man that was killing his caravan as they tried to make their way to California. And there's a wonderful backstory about how the leader of the troop was a very vicious and cruel man. And as the caravan got bogged down, they eventually had to resort to cannibalism. Once the oxen were eaten, once the horses were eaten.
And their shoes
Their
and
shoes.
their belts. And
And it's a terrifying picture. The first time I saw Ravenous, I was probably about 14, 15.
okay.
And chilled me to the bone because I was watching it alone with a friend, and great scenes in it.
Yeah, it and actually probably more than the cinematography is actually the soundtrack.
Yeah,
It was Damon Albarn.
from Gorillaz fame, Blur.
He usually gets the credit. This was actually one of the movies that I ran out to get the soundtrack after hearing it because it's so weird and it's so queasy, and
It's very unsettling.
Yeah, but it's also incredibly intelligent too, because like some of the themes, like the opening credits theme, is mixing parts of religious hymns along with a song called, I don't know if it's called that, but it's like Hail Columbia, which
Yeah.
was the former U.S. National anthem, I believe.
It was one of the contenders. It was like between that, America the Free, and Star Spangled Banner. So it's a important song, probably more so around that period than now. But God, the music, that's a highlight. I've had some unsettling moments in the middle of the night when an MP3 playlist had a song from that soundtrack on there. I'm getting up and I'm turning it off because I'm not listening to this in the middle of the night in the dark.
That's kind of a weird thing, talking about cannibals in general. Honestly, I think that might be, getting eaten alive might be the scariest thing. Basically, it's like, would you rather go toe-to-toe with a cannibal or 3 or a ghost?
Take the ghost.
I'll probably take the ghost.
The thing that's horrible about cannibalism is it's such a considered and extremely intimate thing. It's different from being killed. You know what I mean? Like there's I'd rather get shot than get stabbed, and I'd rather get stabbed than get eaten. The closer somebody gets to you, the more unsettling and more horrific it becomes. And getting eaten alive, or just oh God.
Yeah, I guess, that is kind of a personal personal thing.
Yeah.
It's like the order goes, I'd rather get hit by a pea-sized meteor through my head. Then I'd rather get hit by lightning.
By lightning.
Then a sniper.
Then a guy with a pistol.
Then a guy with a pistol. Then a guy with a knife. And then a guy with teeth.
Yeah.
So there's 6 stages.
Six stages of death. No, and the beauty about Ravenous is how they tie it into the mythology too.
Right.
And it's very heavily based in a lot of Native American mythology, dealing with the Wendigo.
The Wendigo.
The Wendigo. It's a creature that, once tasting human flesh and drinking human blood, takes on the hunger, and soon that's all that they want to eat. That's all that they want to taste is human flesh, and transforms them slowly over time into a maniac, and then a monster in some cases, and then you become one with nature, almost like a ghost or a spirit. There's a lot of precedent for that being the cause of a lot of hauntings in forests and stuff like that. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and if anything, in ghost lore, desperation means you still have an attachment to this place. And it's a scary thought, and I could just only imagine what it would have been like in the frontier days like that.
Well, you know, I've never been anywhere close to starving.
No. Look at us.
I eat pretty well. But you know, it's one of those things. When you're hungry enough, I think you'll find that you'll eat just about anything. You know, and consider the alternative, death.
No, and you know, that's one of those hard decisions, because it's something that I think resonates well with people nowadays, because we're not any of us at that point where we can consider eating somebody. We're never going to be in that situation.
Well, never's a long time.
Well, never's a long time, but the odds are against it.
Okay.
And the consideration and saying outright, no, I could never eat somebody. Well, you never know.
You never know, you know.
You just never know. And as much as we dive into horror and stuff like that, and you know, a good kill and a good gory special effect is one thing, but yeah, cannibalism is one of the few things that really still kind of gets to me. And gosh, it's something to joke about, but then you really think about it, it's terrifying.
Here's something that, you know, now that I think about it, movie-wise, from these two films, though we said a lot of bad things about Cannibal Campout, I think there are instances where that low-budget movie did way better with the gore of Ravenous.
Example.
Okay, well, you know, they do a lot of prop work in Cannibal Campout.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of their signature things is the machete, and it's always kind of to the face or to the head.
Yeah.
And the cuts are clean in Cannibal Campout, chop, and then it shows the
machete blade in the skull.
Blade buried in the guy's face. There's nothing like that in Ravenous.
No, there's a lot of implied stuff goes on after. But as far as the outright gore,
yeah,
there's only a few scenes that are really overt. And I think you're right when you say that they did the gore a little bit more. For cinema goers, yeah, you got to show something.
Yeah.
And I think they showed enough in Ravenous, though. There's a few good moments, like in the cave.
Yeah.
I think the blood effects were better in Ravenous. Yeah, no real contest there. But there were so few and far between, and it was more of a suspense thriller than it was an outright gore fest. So, yeah, I could see Cannibal winning a couple points like that.
Which is weird.
But then you stack it up against the story, the music, the locations, the visuals, the actors.
That's true, but you know, that little film from 1986 or 87 kicked Ravenous's ass in the gore department.
In the gore department. But that was kind of its goal.
Yeah, that's true.
It knew it had no story. It had a theme song though, surprisingly, but it did its best. It put all its eggs in one basket, and it still has a following.
What? Cannibal Campo?
Oh yeah,
Really?
yep. It's still a well thought of cult movie for a lot of gore hounds.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's the truth of it.
Yeah, it's
I don't
true.
want to admit it either, but it's true. But comparing both of those movies together, Cannibals have so many psychological angles. To ignore those in a film, I think, is almost a disservice to the subject matter. Mm-hmm. And if you wanted to make a gore fest, they don't have to eat people to do it. They just have a gore fest. So yeah, it did. Cannibal Campout did do a good job. Did do a good job with the gore, but Ravenous is just a flat out spectacular movie.
Right.
Do I recommend Cannibal Campout? No. Do I recommend Ravenous? All day. All day. I think it's a film that you need to see once. And if you don't like it, that's generally it's because of the subject matter. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's enough to make sure that I watch it every now and again. Mm-hmm. Though it was nice for you to suggest that eventually, because I hadn't seen it in a couple years.
Yeah. And
it was great. I got to watch it in the dark, and I had a big burger beside me. And
does this taste funny?
I did that just to see if it changed it any, and I put extra ketchup on it and all sorts of stuff, and
it just looked like blood.
It just ran down my face and on my chest. No, but all in all, Cannibals. I think we chose one good movie and one horrible movie.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other great pictures to look at, and I think the subject deserves a little bit more credit than especially around this time, than some other monsters.
Okay.
More than the Mummy. But that's just me.
Yeah, well, my bottom line would be, yeah, I'm thinking about throwing Cannibal Campout in the trash. Ravenous, hell of a date picture.
Yeah.
Not that we get many dates here at Sentinels of the Solar System.
Good night.
Everything is food, food, food.